And we're back on Forum Daily. I'm sitting down with Neil Lumsden, Ontario's Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport. Minister Lumsden, before the break, you were talking about the pace of the Canadian game. Obviously, the ball is thrown more, that speed, the size of the field, all of those things. And as the athletes have changed over the years in terms of speed, power, intensity, one of the growing concerns has been concussions. I know that your ministry has taken a look at concussions. Can you walk us through what the ministry has looked at in terms of concussions and Rowan's Law and the steps that the province has taken to treat that issue seriously?
Well, Rowan's Law began before my time, and sadly it started because of Rowan Stringer, a young gal who died as a result of multiple contacts to the head that, like a lot of young athletes, including myself and maybe even my kids at one point, dismissed being bumped in the head and feeling a little bit woozy and maybe a little bit sick to their stomach.
Yeah.
And because you were taught as an athlete that you like push things aside,
tough it out and keep going.
You'll be fine. So I think one of the biggest things as a result of Rowan's Law, when I look at a game or a sport specifically, it's contact still going to happen.
Of course.
The game has changed, and I'll come back to this in a second, how it's played, but people are watching more closely because the one thing, and you're an athlete, you play, you're a goalie.
Appreciate
hockey, right?
It's a very generous description.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
No problem. I'll take the $5 later. But there's always going to be contact.
Of course.
It's how you approach the contact and how you teach it. And in football, it is a contact sport.
Yeah.
We were taught in my day that you lead with the crown of your head, and that's your contact point. Well, now they teach kids, and I've been part of that because I've coached minor football up until I got involved with in politics at Nelson High School in Burlington. It's now, and this is all thanks to Rowan's Law and how you look at contact and safe sport. So we don't teach kids to lead with their head. Get the head out of contact.
Yes.
Lead with the shoulder pads, wrap up and take people down. And you've seen that it's being done more and more at the professional level because kids typically mimic what they see, their heroes, or what they see on TV.
Yeah.
So that has made a massive difference in the safety side of it. And there's still contact.
Of course.
People are going to get whacked in the head. But it's who's paying attention now, and coaches on the sidelines, and maybe even, and I hope so, parents are taking a closer look at what happens. Because again, the one struggle, and I call it a struggle only because we're all different. A shot to your head and to my head may have very different results.
Yep.
Right? You may have a concussion where I might not. So you can't treat everybody the same. It's not a broken arm. It's not a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And that's where that sensitivity lies, that everyone has to be very cognizant of what's going on when someone walks off a field, how they're walking.
Is there a training aspect there for coaches?
There's an awareness.
Okay.
Absolutely, because and we did this in high school, before you're ever allowed to get on the field with your pads on, we take a practice and a half, no equipment, about going through the technique and the mechanics of tackling. It's really simple. And blocking. And any potential contact. Again, stuff happens, people fly around, bodies change positions. It's a very quick game at any level. But if they're aware of it, and they now, I think, understand, they as the young athletes, there's something wrong. I'm not feeling great.
Yeah, and I don't need to
And I don't need to be tough for my buddies or my family, because for me is, if you want to continue to play, be aware of how you feel at the time, so you can play longer. And that's the most important thing. And Rowan Stringer's family has, back years ago when this got started, have just been unbelievably supportive in maybe the most difficult scenario to have to deal with, of losing a child. Right?
Horrific. Of course.
But her name's going to live on for a long time. And the difference that she has made in her family, and those that have worked on it from the working group and the doctors, has been incredible.
And are we seeing that translate in terms of safety at the youth level? Are we seeing lower incidents of concussion and better treatment in that sense?
Well, it's more of the awareness of who's got it, and because it's so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've had concussions over the years, and I've had enough, a couple serious ones that someone said, no, you've got to stay away for a period of time. But I also know, looking back, and I've seen it in my son, and I saw it in my daughter when she was playing rugby. If you're paying attention to people, especially your kids, you know when something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so parents of athletes have to be much more aware and less worried about whether they scored a goal or how well they played. That when they come off, they're feeling good, everything okay. Okay, that's the first order of business. Because if you see something happen in a game, you got to pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. We will be right back.